all medicines are drugs, but not all drugs are medicines. For us pharmacists, our tongue has been used to the word drug, and I doubt whether I can cure myself from it. About 80% of patients visiting health facilities will need at least one drug, and that shows the centrality of drug in the scheme of healthcare delivery. Medicines are the most common healthcare intervention agents, but we know that some 30 to 50% of these drugs are not taken as intended. 4 to 5% of hospital admissions are due to preventable adverse effects of these medicines. Several thousands of deaths are due to adverse drug effects. Right? Costs, often costs, as in the US, more than 30 billion annually to deal with adverse effect related adverse effects of drug, hospitalization due to adverse effects of drug. In all of this, we can claim that as pharmacists, we are invaluable in healthcare delivery. We know the definition of health, a state of total well-being, and not just the absence of diseases and infirmities. Now, drugs, our tool, drugs address both diseases and infirmities, as well as the psychological components. We can then conclude that any country that does not take pharmacy or pharmacy seriously is a loser, does so at its own peril. How do pharmacists originate the healthcare sector? Pharmacists originate the healthcare sector through various practice settings, through industrial pharmacy, community pharmacy, clinical pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, that's also involving clinical pharmacy, administrative regulatory components in the academia, and what have you. Let's consider the industry. All of these, I suppose every one of us know, but for purpose of emphasis, we'll just look at some of them. Drug discovery through R&D, the industry involved in manufacture of drugs. Pharmacists are there. They are involved in detailing drugs, educating other members of the healthcare, about these drugs. Many doctors don't have the time to read, so they rely on the information provided by our colleagues who go out there and detailing these drugs. So without this, our colleagues who go out to detail the drugs, these doctors will not know what is new about drugs. I pay tribute to Frederick Statana, that pharmacist that discovered morphine. And I also pay tribute to David Jack, the lead researcher for the discovery of anti-asthmatic drugs. He's a pharmacist. He worked in the industry, and they're also researchers as well. In the hospital, we know that our colleagues they provide the drugs, right, by way of ordering. They dispense these drugs. They do extemporaneous preparations. They do therapeutic drug monitoring, and of course, pharmaceutical care. In the hospital, a lot more. Storage of drugs, supervision of located pharmaceutical staff, answering questions about medicines, contributing to research and development, preparation of hospital formularies and treatment guidelines, ensuring pharmaceutical care, organizing and supervising clinical trials. In the midst of so many things that they do, hospital pharmacists have begun to move closer to patients in what we know now as pharmaceutical care. Keep in mind that this pharmaceutical care is not only a thing for hospital pharmacists, it's a thing for you and I, indeed for all pharmacists. So the hospital pharmacist moves closer to the patient, well, pharmaceutical care, and then pharmacists now seen as therapeutic advisors for positive outcome in therapy. Let's look at the community pharmacy, just to highlight a few. They dispense prescriptions. They also provide self-care advice. They help people to live healthier lives in very many ways. Now, I'll take a case of England or UK, if you will. 84% of adults visit a pharmacy at least once a year, 78% for health-related reasons. In that same England, adults visit on the average 40 times a year a pharmacy. Around 1 in 10 get health advice from pharmacy. Majority use the same pharmacy all the time. Those with disabilities or living in rural areas are more likely to visit the same pharmacy. Now, we know, even before this lecture, the various roles that we play in the health sector. And because drugs are vital, without drugs, there is no healthcare delivery. We can claim without any equivocation that we as pharmacists are the oxygen, we constitute the oxygen of the healthcare sector. But there are impediments to full oxygenation. The first one I want us to quickly look at is the inadequate pharmaceutical manpower that's facing us. Now, look closely at the screen, the comparative health sector manpower. About 28,500 pharmacists are in the register. That's registered pharmacists. And if you ask me, that includes the ROIPs from 0001 to the present, to the last number in the register now, 28,500, thereabout. That's at the 31st December 2020. Of these 28,500, only 15,000 or thereabout, after that December, actually renewed their license. So if you want to talk about those who practically, legally available to provide pharmaceutical services, just 15,000, right? About 75,000 physicians, and then about 270,000 nurses and midwives. My dear colleagues, you know so well that politics, professional politics, like all politics, is a game of number. And little wonder why in many universities, when anything comes from the School of Medicine, it's almost certain that the thing will receive the blessing of Senate. But when something comes from pharmacy, well, a lot, it becomes an uphill task. And not less than 16 departments in the School of Medicine, and maybe maximum 6 departments in the School of Pharmacy. So you can tell. In some cases, the number of professors in one department in medicine more than the total number of professors in the entire faculty of pharmacy. So, manpower, we are deficient. Now, look at comparative manpower situation to the population ratio. In the US, 1 to 1,000 of the population. In the UK, 1 to 1,200 of the population. But what do you have in Nigeria? Assuming that we have a population of 200 million, the ratio is 1 to 13,300. Now, distribution of pharmaceutical manpower, not more than 220 local governments out of the 774 local governments in Nigeria have the presence of a community pharmacy, at least one community pharmacy, and that's less than 30%. Retail pharmacies, we have 4,447. That is as at 31st December last year. Compare this with the 60,000 patent medicine stores, 60,000 registered, I don't know whether the word is registered, patent medicine stores. That's the ones that have the blessings of the Pharmacist Council. I choose to use the word register. Right. Now, the unregistered one, if you put this, the number may be times 3. So compare that with just 4,447 retail pharmacies. Wholesale distribution pharmacies, 1,396. Manufacturing companies, 134. Importation companies, 553. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, we know without any equivocation that where there is no pharmacist, the people will make one for themselves. We are grossly inadequate when it comes to pharmaceutical manpower. Now look at the manpower distribution in Nigeria. The bulk of pharmacists are in retail business. And if you were to look at the geographical spread, you would see that the bulk of this retail business in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and all those big cities, leaving so many places uncovered. Next with the hospital practice, which is almost at par with others. And others here, I mean those who do not really practice pharmacy, but they are pharmacists all the same. Some may be into oil business. But they associate with us as pharmacists. I have a classmate who does not practice pharmacy, he's into laundry, but he does well to renew his certificates, his license every now and then. Now, what are the consequences of this inadequate pharmaceutical manpower? Poor pharmaceutical coverage, expectedly. Not enough pharmacists to meet hospital and administrative needs, not enough to meet industrial needs, not enough to meet any pharmaceutical need nationwide. And so there could be occupational mobility of labor, what economists call occupational mobility of labor. All that it takes is just for one sector to have salary increase. And then before you know it, people want to rush to that sector. Okay. There was a time nobody wanted to be a lecturer. Then salaries of lecturer will increase by some proportion, and then people were leaving other sectors to become academics. That's occupational mobility of labor. But when there is that mobility, keep in mind, there is a void somewhere. There's a void somewhere. That is the problem. Now, the second component of by pharmacy is what I have called anti-pharmacy sentiments and actions. First one, we know, first group of persons, medical doctors. The average medical doctor, by the way, at work, at play, I'm friends with medical doctors. Some work with me, they are my students, postgraduate students. So I hesitate always to comment on things to do with medicine. All right. Because I'm at thought not less than almost 30 years of teaching medical students.
They need to tell him.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
My apology. The system just the network had a mind of its own. Let's see whether we can get back to where we were. To reload the slides. Sincere apology. Okay. All right. While we wait for that, I mean, I can just well continue with what I have here. I was talking about the vicious antagonism to pharmacists by medical doctors and other healthcare practitioners. So doctors, they antagonize us regularly, very regularly. They antagonize us. I'm waiting for the screen to come so we share. Okay. It's taking some time. You can hear me?
We can hear you, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yes, bro.
Okay, it's all right. So I've offered while waiting for the slides to come on again. I'm just trying to reiterate certain things. Where I stopped was that doctors have considered themselves as antagonists of pharmacists, and I was trying to explain that a younger colleague had requested me to write an article, on account of what's happening in the country, and I declined because I'll be training medical students and I have many doctors who see me like a father, so I don't want to throw myself into the ring. But I'll be compelled to do that. I assume that somebody of my level, of my coordinate, does that in medicine, then I'll probably not hold back and will come out full force. Also, everyone will speak on behalf of his profession. So anything that has to do with pharmacy, you find that persons are antagonistic. Doctors are foremost in Nigeria. And I don't need to I don't need to stretch this any further. We all know what's happening in the National Assembly, how they tend to antagonize pharmacy and make mockery of pharmacy. But we often think that other health workers are comfortable with us, under the guise of Johesu. I don't think so. It's convenient to join us because it's just convenient for them now. They are not very comfortable with us. Many of them want to handle drugs. They just want to handle drugs. That is the truth of the matter. They want to handle drugs. So what you have is a situation in which they argue that, after all, they learned some pharmacology. And I asked them, is pharmacology pharmacy? Pharmacology certainly is not pharmacy. There is far, far more to pharmacy than pharmacology. So that's why they want to handle drugs. Conveniently now, they want to join us to fight doctors. Yes, but the truth of the matter is that they actually do not like us so much. Governments have not been helpful to pharmacy. They have this steady disposition to pharmaceutical issues, discriminatory pay, poor recognition, and what have you. These are some of the difficulties that we are having. Other impediments to professional full oxygenation of the health sector. The last one, which seems to me to be the most important, is the intra within the profession wrangling, what I've called intra-professional wrangling. Examples are legion. It's often argued that, look, you don't need to look far. The enemy to the pharmacist is another pharmacist close by. That's the argument. So, you know what happened not too long ago about the chairmanship of PCN. If you ask me, I don't think that all of us, I'm not personally blame, I'm including myself, we did not handle the issue very well. At the end of the day, we reduced ourselves before the healthcare community. So we must keep in mind that it is the domestic crowd that tells the federal one that there is food in the kitchen. If we make mockery of ourselves, then of course, others will do worse to us. Now, if I've said all of that, I just want to make some quick recommendations because I'm told that this lecture is just around 30 minutes. One, Wendell T. Hill had written, say, what we as pharmacists believe our profession to be determines what it is. He said so. So to me, the low-hanging fruit is self-examination, to remove all self-induced, self-inflicted hypoxiation of the profession. We induce hypoxia in the health sector in some ways by our action. We have, by our own actions, caused ischemia, if you like, in pharmacy and in the health sector. And therefore, this calls for change. And without this change, there will be, since you've chosen to use the word oxygenation, oxygen, by me, I think that there will be angiogenesis, which is, you know the meaning of that word. Blood vessels will be developed, right, to reticulate distribution of blood, right? There will be angiogenesis. In other words, the system will work to bypass pharmacy, and it's already happening. Those who are still with what's happening at the Federal Ministry of Health will know that government tends to empower patent medicine dealer, teach them to give injection. There's some kinds of injection. Pharmacists are not called, and community health extension worker, all of these persons, they are not called. They are called, but pharmacists are not called. So these are some of the difficulties that we have. So by way of recommendation, I would think that before we dwell on that concept of change, let us ask ourselves certain key questions. I think that these questions are very, very germane, right? And we can begin to pick few of them one by one. I'm very mindful of time. How knowledgeable are we about drugs and healthcare issues? You cannot imagine how often I've been terribly embarrassed when pharmacists present for launch of a new drug, right? In that launch of a new drug, you'll see doctors asking questions about the kinetics of the drug compared to the other one. The one who says that he's the expert of the drug, when he eventually gets to raise his hand, what is his question? How much is a roll? How much is a roll? Ladies and gentlemen, when shall we depart from this pharmacy practice of egone, enigo, how much? Now, when are we going to leave all that? How much is a roll? If the pharmacist did not say anything, that will be to be assumed that on account of his knowledge, he just didn't want to ask a question. But you want to ask a question, all you can ask is how much is a roll of the drug? We're talking of a new drug. So how many of us can claim to be very knowledgeable about drugs? How confident are we in dispensing knowledge? For those who even claim to know, you go to some of the settings. Profound respect to holders of with the postgraduate college, PharmD, and what have you. Go to some places, they don't exude confidence. No confidence, nothing to show that they have the knowledge, or they have the knowledge that they claim to have. How available are we in playing our role? Supposing somebody calls you from next door to say, oh, well, this is what is happening. Can you intervene? An emergency situation, all of that. Can you intervene? How many of us can be deployed? What is our attitude to work? Once I was doing a survey nationwide, and the registrar asked me, say, can you check how many pharmacists are available in the community setting within the period? You'll be surprised. In one state, only 13% were available between the time 8 a.m. in the morning and 5 p.m. in the evening. Only God knows where they went to. Perhaps these pharmacies are all, in the ring. We do harm to our profession. Do we dress well? You need to see how some of us dress. Wear slippers, fly your shirt and all of that. How can we bring respect to the profession by doing so? How do we manage our differences? I've put this here. Every little quarrel we go out, the wrangling, the internal wrangling is very disturbing. The squabbles, internal squabbles, very disturbing indeed. And we need to cure ourselves of this. Then lastly, the question I think we should reflect on. Are we politically sensitive? But we have to be politically sensitive, politically sensible to make certain changes, right? As Prince Adeluyi, our legend in the profession, once said, you have to be in the kitchen of power. Don't talk about being in the corridors of power. Be in the kitchen of power. That's the way we can make policies that will be helpful to pharmacy. Now, a little bit of change. Change is a constant, and we have to appreciate that. It is a necessary adaptive mechanism that moves species, organizations, professions in the direction of continuous relevance, improvements, and indeed survival. I think that I want to start the change for myself. That's a question we should go away with, right? Aside from change starting, what makes the average medical doctor thinks that after God, he or she is the next person? That's because in their class, in the classroom, their lecturers tell them that is the situation. For those who believe in God, for those who do not believe in God, they think that they are first and foremost amongst all human beings. I'm not advocating that we should go, creating superiority over any human being. But by all means, we need to tell these children, our students, that they have to be confident in themselves. We need to inspire confidence in them. We have to create in them an enduring sense of relevance, such as you see amongst lawyers and doctors. And then last, in terms of recommendation, I want us to reflect on these few words on change, quotations that I've taken from some quarters. Charles Darwin, we all know who he was. See, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives, but the most responsive to change. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. That's Winston Churchill. We again know who Winston Churchill was. Then George Bernard Shaw, that contemporary philosopher, he had said, progress is impossible without change. And those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. we must ask ourselves, pharmacists, are we ready to change our mind? That's the issue. So in conclusion, fellows, ladies and gentlemen listening in, first, I want to identify that yes, pharmacists are the oxygen for health sector viability. That's indisputable in my reckoning. Second, pharmacists must see themselves as what they are, as the oxygen. If you do not take yourself to be what you are, if you do not come out to prove what you are, sorry, you were waiting for recognition from some quarters, it may not come. I want to say yes, that chairman of CPAN, I see his write-ups, I see how committed he is to this, and I commend him. All the oxygen, that's pharmacists themselves, are in short supply. Pharmacists are in short supply. Our number are currently inadequate to meet pharmaceutical needs. And I'm therefore suggesting that we must begin to put mechanisms in place to activate increase in not only quantity, but in the quality of the pharmacists that we produce. All right. A situation in which you have only 224 local governments, 220 local governments out of 774 having pharmacists. I'm not even talking about the rural areas. We're talking now of local government headquarters, not one, in about 400 and something. That's not helpful at all. And lastly, we must have positive attitudinal change, and that is one thing that will improve the oxygenation of the health sector. Very positive attitudinal change. Change. If you were, all means seek to improve your knowledge base. If you were not dressing well, by all means, try dress better. That is what I mean by change. If you never had confidence in yourself, by all means, seek for ways to have improvement in the confidence. So let me end by acknowledging the chairman and the executive committee of CPAN once again. Solomon, my former student, the chairman himself, my former student, in whom I am very, very pleased. And no one can stop you. The prayer of a teacher is that the coming students do better than them. No problem at all you guys overtaking us. Overtaking me, if others don't want you to overtake them, please do well to overtake me as your former teacher. I give glory again for all the very, very nice things that you have said about me. I hope my wife is listening in somewhere. And I have said that on account of those fine things that you have said, her love for me will increase during the refund of some of the bribe. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. May God expand your pharmaceutical course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. You've actually lifted our minds this night. I said it when the education committee were designing a topic for this particular whatever. I came in with this particular topic, and the rumination coming from all quarters is, who is going to do the justice to this? I say, I know him. Whenever I see the color, I remember him. Whenever I see the clause, I know him. And he was my former teacher, and he still remains my teacher. Professor Raymond Ozolwa will be the person that will do the justice. And you've actually done the justice to this lecture this night. Thank you, and God bless you. And God will keep keeping you alive. Because by the hair of your voice, many souls are lifted from their dungeons and from where they believe they cannot live to see life. That with you and all other people, there is much, much hope for pharmacy. Thank you so much. At this juncture, I remain your moderator, yours sincerely, Dr. Solomon Kelechi Wafro. May, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to kindly welcome on board before we begin to attend to questions and appraisals and thereabout. We cannot ignore the father of CPAN for now in Nigeria, our Dr. Joseph Madu. Please, our national chairman, can you make your appraisals, your comments, your recommendations the wonderful lecture presented today by a sensational and motivational speaker, Professor Raymond Ozona. You're welcome, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon Wafuru. Good evening, everyone. I believe I'm audible enough. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Chairman. Yes.
Let me use this opportunity to pay homage to former lecturer, Professor Raymond Ozolua, the orator. He has done it again, and we know we were surprised to see that this is the kind of stuff he's made of. I want to thank our participants today for coming to be part of us. Thank you, and all present this night. That plan is for all of us. I want to recommend Osolua, Prof himself, to always be close to us. There are a lot of things he will still do for us, and we shall always be coming to him in the company of his wife, which he wished with us to grace next time with Prof coming along with his wife. But as we will always say, I believe we'll go back and imbibe on all these things. Most pharmacists are not confident, and that is the area that touches me a lot. Another one, like Prof said, many pharmacists, they will ask you how much. That's what pharmacists can contribute in a clinical meeting, for instance, and then they want to be respected as high-profile professionals. That cannot happen. The world gives you what you put inside, not what you can tear away from it. So it's what you put that you get. So by the time you don't present yourself as a professional, you have nothing to offer, and then you just want to be respected like those in the law or accountancy or medicine or engineering. It is usually very difficult. So we need to put ourselves forward. We keep on keeping on. And by the grace of God, because there are a lot that are deposited in pharmacies. And as they say, the pharmacists are but they are utilized. The pharmacist is the one that designs the drug. But how many people in the society know this? Even when a physician comes and says he is the he is the leader of the healthcare team, that is very, very wrong. He may be the leader of a clinical team, but not the leader of the healthcare team. How can somebody who cannot make a tablet of paracetamol, he doesn't know what it's all about, claim to be the leader of the healthcare team? That bond of emotion be broken. We must let the public know. And I think that we have been speaking to mainly ourselves, and we have not really been talking to outsiders. An astronaut or somebody, let me say no, an engineer, an aeronautic engineer who designed the plane cannot be said to be lesser than a pilot who just drives the plane. But many of our colleagues do not know what is deposited in them. And that can be likened to a slave leading those who are supposed to be the owners of the slave. It's very painful. Most importantly, sorry, I don't want to take our time this night, but most importantly, I want to remind us on our use of language. In this country, we must use our languages properly. Many pharmacists do not even know that they are medical professionals. They don't know. And when we are said, when some people come out and say you are not medically qualified, some of us doubt it. You cannot be a professional of something if you're not qualified. Pharmacists, go and Google the meaning of medical professionals in dictionary. Pharmacists, nurses, physicians, and the rest of them. And again, many pharmacists come out and say, doctors and pharmacists. That is wrong. Who are doctors? Who are doctors? Let us go and find out the true meaning of doctors, or we go back to the university and study the use of language. I did the use of language, English language, in my first year in the university, and I don't joke with that. Who are doctors? All clinical pharmacists, all those with PharmD, they are doctors. All those with optometry, doctor of optometry, they are doctors. And even those with MBB, they are doctors on courtesy ground. They are not doctors based on qualification. And we must let the public know this. We shouldn't be saying doctors and pharmacists, but rather physicians and pharmacists, because that is what the person who studies medicine is supposed to be addressed as, a physician, not a doctor. That word doctor, we should cancel it and let the public know who is a doctor. This is why sometimes we say these things don't matter, but we can see what is happening in the National Assembly now with the NDC. Some people don't want you to be seen as somebody who cares for the patient, and that is very pathetic and very painful. So I want to use this opportunity because I can see many people in this meeting tonight who are not members. Go back to our neighbors, to our patients, to our clients. The way we talk to them is going to take us a lot of energy going to media houses to debate on these things. The way we talk among our colleagues, other healthcare professionals, even in my, sorry to say this, even in my local platform, all you see there people saying, who has this medicine, who has this medicine, how much is it, how much is that? Nobody asks about anything concerning how these medicines work or how they heal patients. And if we continue like this in this country, we are not going to be recognized. We are not going to be better for it. I thank Professor Raymond Ozola for coming this night to tell us the same thing, for us to be the oxygen, heart of the healthcare team. We must prove it. It's not just by saying it. Monkey cannot continue working and baboon is proudly chopping it. I think I will end on that note. God bless us all. Thank you once again, Prof, for our community tonight.
Thank you so much, our able chairman, our ever corrosive and ever dogged national chairman. You've spoken very well. You have been so lucid. We have an array of people that are raising up their hands. But my prayer this night is that they are going to receive oxygen and ask their questions, make their prayers, and make their comments. Among top on the list, all of them are my friends, but I will start from how they raise their hands. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce to the house to make his comment or ask his question. Dr. Peter from Plateau State. Dr. Peter, are you there? Dr. Peter Alphonsus, are you there?
Let him know.
Hello?
Yeah.
Dr. Peter, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Dr. Alphonsus Peter. I'd like to congratulate Professor Ray for this wonderful presentation. And I'd like him to know that he is not alone in this battle. There are a lot of other passionate pharmacists that mean well for the profession that have gone beyond the sky to make sure that pharmacists see the light of day. And I think that is why CPAN is being what it is, just like our chairman has pushed. To start with, the internal antagonism that we have in the profession is very huge. And it starts with recognition did a presentation just 2 weeks ago in a teaching hospital somewhere in Ibadan, and I wrote my title, and I was addressed as such, even though they knew I was a pharmacist, and I had that regard. Now, a lot of pharmacists are even scared for the reason God knows why, to address themselves as such. Unfortunately, even those that don't have that confidence do not even want those of us that have the confidence to come near and assist them. I'm saying this because I know we have a lot of pharmacists on board and online tonight. My appeal is this: if there is somebody that you think has this, a lot of them just cram and go their way because they do not even see anybody practicing what they say. It is only in the pharmacy profession that people practice what they don't preach, and so far it has not helped us. I appeal to our academicians and those that mean well for pharmacy profession that this confidence Professor Ray has talked about today can only be built and can only be seen to assume if pharmacists practice what they preach. So please, we should identify, we should not antagonize those that have the skills we don't have. We should not antagonize those that have the energy that we don't have. A lot of people are knowledgeable, but they don't have the strength, they don't have the energy, some may not even have the skill and competence to go beyond their academic pursuit. Please, pharmacy profession needs to go beyond the academic pursuit so that our profession will see the light of day. Thank you, and that has been my contribution.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter. Please, for the sake of time and space, we don't really have much here. Please, let us not be so much in our contributions and appraisers. Let's quickly go to the point and move on and give space for another person to speak. The next on the line should be Dr. Danjuma. Dr. Danjuma, are you there, sir? Are you there?
Yes. Good evening.
Okay, please, you can make it. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay, my question just goes like this. Thank you, Prof, for this wonderful presentation this evening. The question is that we talked about the profession of pharmacy. Yes, I agree with you. But if you look at what is coming out from PCN over the years, if you look at your license does not even cover you. What we are really practicing, the license does not cover us. Even the data you presented, you painted it as if it is all community pharmacy that is only being seen, because the number you gave, that is in a country of 774 local government, only 200 and something local government that is being covered. Hello?
We can hear you.
I hear you.
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
The number of community pharmacies that are registered with PCN. So if you look at that, it means the hospital practice, the hospital pharmacies has not been covered. If you look at the license, we have not been covered. Even those that are clinically oriented and are practicing in the hospital are not being covered, because the license just talked about you can import, you can export, you can compound, you can retail, all this classification is centered on retail and wholesale. So we are not being covered. And that is just the question. So that even going forward, you can interface with the PCN so as to look at that section, because all of us that are working that are passionate about pharmacy, the license does not cover us. But if you just put in pharmaceutical care practice there, it, at least to some extent, it will cover us. And the only thing, lastly, I would like to thank you for opening our eyes and to tell you that I've gained a lot of confidence when I went for my family conversion. And ever since then, I've been going higher and higher. And that is the only way NNC has given accreditation approval for Farm D. I wonder why most of our universities in this country are still lagging behind. Because up to this day, like those of us from the northern part, none of the universities have started. So what can you do in your position to ensure that some of these faculties of pharmacies that are still lagging behind to catch up with the new ones? Because that is the only way out. With the introduction of Farm D gives a lot of confidence, but the old ways of doing things will still be lagging behind in terms of intellectual capabilities and capacities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Danjuma. The next on the list is Dr. Uche Rasmus Ohia. Dr. Ohia, are you there? Dr. Ohia, are you there? If Dr. Ohia is not close, can Pharmacist Yobosa Ibunovia continue from where Dr. Danjuma stopped?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Can
you,
you
sir.
hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for putting this lecture together. And let me also thank profoundly Professor Ray. We didn't expect anything different. Yeah, thank you very much. I agree largely to what has been said tonight. For the sake of time, just one area I want to talk about, and that is the issue of inadequacy, of the pharmacists in the country. General opinion is that pharmacists are not enough; they are inadequate. And now, if you look at simple economics, the forces of demand and supply, it simply means that when supply cannot meet up with demand, it means that you have higher demand and, of course, greater price to pay to get that service. Now, if we say we don't have enough pharmacists, what it means is that there should be high demand for the profession. And for the few that are available, the remuneration should be high. But that is not what we get. We have a lot of pharmacists that are unemployed. A lot of them are underemployed, and so many are also not employed. So what that means is that we actually are not inadequate. They may seem inadequate if you look at number of pharmacists per patient ratio, fine. And that now brings us to the fact that do this country as it is, the health sector as it is, do they have that regards for the services that we render? Everybody wants to handle medicines, and that seems to be our core area. Is it not about time that we begin to change the way we practice? Is it not about time that we begin to unleash on this society all those so many things, all those so many knowledge that we acquire while in school? And for those pharmacists that have found themselves in privileged positions, they should be able to push the profession forward. We find a situation where so many medical reps now are not pharmacists, but pharmacists sit on this selection board or selection panel to pick microbiologists, biochemists, these admin graduates, to become med reps. And of course, once you have those people as med reps, what do you want the young pharmacists to do? That is my thought for now. Thanks for putting this together. Over.
Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ibunovia. I don't know whether Dr. Ucho here is around. Dr. here, are you there? Dr. here is not there. Dr. Ejiro, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Dr. Ejiro, continue, please.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Prof for his delivery. Like I've been severally mentioned, I wasn't expecting anything less. Most of us are who we are today by virtue of what he made out of us. We keep remembering him, his lectures, his training, and all of that. Dr. Danjuma was talking about the statistics. Prof will still be very correct. His figures, I believe, also include hospital pharmacists because, for instance, in my state, we had a situation where before now, let me say till now, because they just did the recruitment, we had about 60-something hospitals and health centers scattered around the state. 40 of these did not have a pharmacist, including the staff hospital in the Ministry of Health. So it's really appalling when you see these statistics. You have a lot of hospitals in this country that don't have pharmacists, government-owned facilities. So it's real. It is what is happening. Like has been said, pharmacists need to continue to exert themselves. My first set of interns, when we entered the ward, in 2 weeks, the internal medicine department had to write to the Department of Pharmaceutical Services stating that we should not go around again because of the loads of therapy problems in just 2 weeks. And a colleague who was supposed to be my supervisor, as he told me, was telling me I was training interns to see themselves as God. And for crying out loud, my question was I supposed to train them to see themselves as slaves? So these are some of the challenges we have. And lectures like this should continue to be given to continue to stimulate more desire to practice the profession. It is only by doing what we know how to do best, practicing pharmacy, that we gain our respect and gain our space in both in the healthcare system and in the society in which we live.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ejiro. I don't know whether Dr. Ucho here is now available to speak. Dr. here, are you available to speak? Dr. here, can you come on board? Dr. here? Doctor, if Dr. is not there, Dr. here?
Not muted.
Yeah, Dr. here, mute yourself and speak. Dr. here, are you there?
For
the sake of time, because already is above 10 p.m. Some of us are already tired and thereabout, so that we can relieve and give a solace to our wonderful presenter tonight to rest. We cannot keep on waiting for other people now. As be that as it may, I would like to call on our wonderful national chairman of National Education Committee of SIPAN, Dr. Timmy Pre, if he's in the house, to give her own appraisal and give her vote of thanks. Dr. Timmy Pre, are you there?
I'm here. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you, man.
Hey, I just want to thank you so much, Professor. I really appreciate this, your wonderful presentation tonight. We want to thank you and also tell you that from time to time, SIPAN will be calling on you, and then we'll be come and give this kind of wonderful presentation that you have done tonight. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate you. My prof, I hope you remember me, sir.
Thank
Prof
you
cannot
much.
forget you now.
Thank you so much, our dogged National Education Committee chairman. The woman is an indefatigable woman. Is a woman that has the body of a woman, but has the spirit and soul of a man. Thank you so much, my teacher, my wonderful professor. We cannot forget what you've given to us in our gray matter in a hurry.
At all, cannot.
It will always remain evergreen and lush in our minds. And I said it, there is a reason why when I was disturbing you, I know you are in a tight schedule. Solomon, you are disturbing me. I'm aging. I don't have time. I say, Prof. Whenever some people hear your voice, they will get up from their bed. You can already hear the testimonies. They're already saying it. Your voice alone is a spirit lifting, and God will keep on blessing you to keep making pharmacy
Amen.
proud. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, and God bless you. I don't know whether Dr.
Thank
Ejire
you.
is available so that he can lead us in a closing prayer.
Hello?
And so that Dr. Ejiro,
Hello? Hello?
hello, can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Ejiro, are you there?
Hello?
Hello,
Hello.
Dr. Ejiro.
You can go ahead, please.
Go ahead. Hello, Dr. Ejiro, go ahead. If Dr. Ejiro is not available, I don't know whether Pharmacist Ibunovia is available, so he can lead us in closing prayer.
Father Lord, we thank you, we glorify your name.
Hello?
We
Hello?
thank you for
Can
this
you
day.
hear me?
We thank you for a time like this to be able to bring us together to share knowledge that we seek to improve our profession. Father Lord, we ask for knowledge that you've given us, wisdom come from above. So we ask that you pour us with wisdom that will chart a better course for this noble profession. We ask you, Father, that you sit on everyone in policy positions that will help us advance this course. We thank you for our lecturer today. We ask for more strength and long life for him to continue to impart knowledge on us. For everyone that has been part of this today, Father Lord, we ask that your blessings be upon us all. And for these people that have put this together, we ask for more strength and more impact. And we ask, King of Glory, that in this era of this pandemic, we will not be caught. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord, for Jesus' name we've prayed.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank
Amen.
you.
So good night, all.
Good night.
Good night,
Okay.
Look
everyone.
forward to the
Thank
next
you,
lecture.
Prof.
Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night, Prof. Good
Thank
night,
Okay,
National
good
you.
night,
Chairman.
everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night, all. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Sleep
night. See you
tight.
next time.
Good night,
Good
Prof. Good
night.
night.
Oh,
So interesting.